Welcome to another episode of Once Upon a Quantum Leap. And in this episode, we got to revisit the pyramids
Again?
again.
Again?
There's new stuff about the pyramids. Apparently, the
Exciting.
pyramids have legs.
Oh,
They got 8 little legs sticking down underneath them,
very
man. Like
long
two
legs.
kilometer long legs.
Long legs.
No, they're not legs. I don't know what to call them. Pillars,
Pillars
posts,
could be, yeah. I don't
shafts.
know.
The pyramids got the shaft. Yeah. Well, we're going to talk about that, but we're also going to talk about vibration and frequencies and waves and
And what we are referring to as pulsing
technology,
technology.
pulse technology.
Pulse technology is what we're going to talk about.
Yeah, and how to bring that back home into you personally
Yeah.
and what to do with your own personal pulse technology. So stay tuned. I saw the diagram that they proposed for under the middle pyramid that was just revealed. When I saw that diagram, it didn't surprise me at all. With the spiral of
Yeah.
some kind of coil going up those shafts that are going down 2 kilometers into the earth to these resonating chambers, didn't surprise me one bit. I just thought, well, finally somebody detected these things. Finally, they got these. Now it's going to be up to engineers to go, okay, well, what could these possibly be doing down there? And most likely they are resonators, and they're resonating this stone, and stone we know has this piezoelectric effect that generates electrons shedding from the stone, and
Of
whoop,
course
up
we
they
know that,
rise.
Paul. Of course we
Of
know
course
that,
we,
Paul.
yeah. You squeeze stone or you vibrate stone, particularly, stuff like marble and granite, and up shoot these electrons. And
So slow it
yeah,
down here. Slow it down for those of
yeah,
us who are
okay.
trying to catch up to you.
I'm all
So
excited about
what's the word that really lovely fancy word piezo? What's that word you just used?
piezoelectric effect.
Piezoelectric effect is
Piezo. You might look it up. Yeah, it's a physics principle of movement of electrons from solid substrate and how you can generate this. It's been known for forever. The old radios
Mhm.
back in the day, back in the 20s and 30s and 40s, those operated on little crystals. There was actually a little crystal inside the radio, and you could get this little crystal to vibrate, or you could vibrate the crystal. And either way, there's an exchange of electrons that comes out of this crystal. And based on the vibrations that you jiggle this thing, it'll produce a regular pattern of electron transmission. And then you can just decode that, and presto changeo, you got um, a radio show, or
Mhm.
Jack Benny comes out the other end. So you can bounce radio waves all the way around the Earth in the ionosphere, different different levels of the atmosphere. And then these little crystals, they sense those radio waves, and they jiggle and they vibrate, and then they shed these electrons, and then the wires connected to it will channel those electrons and decode them. And so they're just doing this on a massive scale with the pyramid. They're jiggling. This is what I'm predicting is those boxes at the very bottom are resonators that
So yeah, so
somehow,
back up here, back up
yeah,
here. I'm getting this visual. So we're talking about the newly formed, what do they call it? The SAR scan?
yeah,
Did I get that right? Did I remember that
yeah.
right?
The scans of the middle pyramid of Giza,
The Khafre
Khafre, Khafre pyramid,
pyramid.
Khafra. Yeah,
And in that there well, let's see. Complete your shaker analogy of what they have found, like how that has occurred, how that
hmm
occurred.
yeah. Um,
Yeah, so start at that point. I don't even know if I'm directing you right, but
oh, it'll all
um
come tumbling out.
it will be. But yeah, keep
Um, well, apparently the technology now is that you can do scans from satellite. You don't have to go in and drill things and, dig things up. You can do these angular um, scans. Essentially, they're bouncing particular wavelengths of electromagnetic energy, and then they bounce off something that's deep in the earth, and then it'll come back to the satellite, and the satellite receives it and translates what it heard. It's like an echo. It'll
hmm
shout
hmm
out a particular frequency, and then it'll hear an echo back. And depending on what comes back, they can decode what it's bouncing off of. Like, is it how dense it is, and what the patterns are,
and what the form
and
is,
what the form is, and how deep does it go.
how deep does it go, all of the
Yeah.
dimensions.
So
It's
they're
it's
they're
reporting that
from
back.
satellite, they're bouncing, 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 bouncing from all these different angles, and they did so many different angles that they were able to, with their supercomputers, they were able to rebuild and determine what structures are underneath the pyramid. Because everybody knows there's stuff under there, but they didn't know what and how big and how far. And so now, and they're doing this all over the earth. They're not just doing it with the pyramids. They're doing it in the Mayan Peninsula. They're finding all of these like giant cities that were swallowed up by the jungle over centuries, millennia. They are able to find these with this kind of scanning technology. And go, huh, look at that. I guess there were huge cities and roads and complexes that we just thought were lumpy hills. But apparently there's a bunch of stuff that's buried and was very coordinated and pretty darn huge a long time ago.
So
So
what
I wouldn't
was
be surprised if they do this with the Gobekli Tepe area as well.
so so what the sound what was reported back via these sound waves
Hmm.
were um pillar-like structures
Yeah,
with what seemed like a seemingly coil around those pillars.
yeah, some kind of almost like they're wrapped. They look like shock absorbers
Yeah.
that are just spiraling all the way back up to the pyramid.
And they're even longer, I mean, depth-wise, so they go down into the earth, even that are they're longer
Hmm.
than the pyramid itself. So they're pretty deep.
Oh, yeah, well, yeah.
They're
So,
really deep.
yeah, like farther down than the St. Louis Arch is tall, which that's pretty tall.
That is pretty tall.
Yeah. And those are just the shafts, and they're proposing that there's other things that go even deeper down, possibly even 2 kilometers deep. But the ones they measured and that are in the paper, I think, are something like 740 meters, which is about a half a mile
Mm,
down.
pretty deep.
And that's through bedrock. That's not just in the sand. That's through like something ground down through bedrock and put these pillars and shafts. And then
Wow.
at the very bottom, there are these chambers that are about the size of half a football field each.
Mm,
These boxes, half a
wow.
football field.
Amazing.
Yeah. And so what we found from the intuitive reports and intuitive research and different sources seem to corroborate that this was a resonator system, that they would buzz the bedrock and collect electrons from the stone with that piezoelectric effect. You vibrate stone, out pop these little electrons. You can channel them in a particular way up these spirals,
Mhm.
collect them in a particular way, place, and then do something with them. And we've already talked about coordinated electric charges, how that can be used as a plasmic field.
Mm.
When you have coordinated charges, you can do stuff with that. You can put thought forms into it, or you can put, um, I don't know. It has an effect also. It has a gravitational effect as well. When you have a coordinated plasmic field, it bends space-time.
So remind
That's
me again. So I'm like I want to stay with you with your how
hmm
you're describing this, but remind me that I'm staying on the right channel here. That movement, that shaker example,
hmm
way down deep, things were just whoa, like there's this. But what's when that shaking happens, um, particles move up, or excuse me, electrons move upward. We're moving upward.
what I'm
How do you
what I'm
visualize that? Yeah, how, you describe
visualizing
that.
is that they they move, and then you can collect them.
Those
If there's
pillar-like structures move.
Yeah, it's like the wires in your house. Um, there's a main wire that comes in from the electric company, a supply line, a big honking piece of metal, and then it gets to your panel, your main distribution panel in your house, and then from there it branches out into all of these circuits.
It disperses it outward.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then also in your panel, your house collects all of the electricity from these circuits and then funnels it back and then sends it back to the source.
Hmm.
So there's a circuit that goes in through your house and then back to the source of this electricity. That's called a potential. There's a load variance between the input and the output. And in between, you can put a meter there and you can say, you used this much electricity for the year or for the month. And I think that's what's going on with
Mm,
this pyramid system,
mm.
which is probably, I'm, I'm predicting they're going to do this on other pyramids around the world and find, look at that. There's more of this. Wherever you find these giant pyramids, there are these shafts that go down with the coils around them that have resonators at the bottom that can channel this electric energy and then collect the electric energy and then,
Channel it upward.
yeah, either shoot it at the top or create something in that king's chamber. You can do some really interesting things. You can create
Mm,
a plasmic field in there. You can distribute it out through, if you have a crystal at the top of the pyramid, you could distribute that electricity
mhm.
out. I think that's what Tesla had noticed that you could do and was trying to tap into before his experiments got taken down and crushed. They just dismantled it and
Wow.
unfunded it.
Wow.
Yeah, that would be too much energy and it would be completely free and just distributed, just electrons from the earth, free for everyone.
And so here's a question for you. Can that free energy disperse? Okay, not can it? Does it need to be harnessed with intelligence? Is it just out there free? Like I'm going to go get a bucket of water and I'm going to go use
Hmm.
it, and
Yeah.
fill my bucket. I'm going to go use it for whatever I want to use it for. I mean, are there some guidelines, things to consider when using this? Can anyone use it? I mean, are there parameters, or is it just free floating around? Anyone
I
can.
would say yes, it is completely free. We do it all the time. Just breathing air, you're breathing in these electrons. When you go out after let's say a lightning storm just passes through and you go outside and it smells really good.
Mm-hmm.
It smells like you just want to breathe in that
Yeah.
fresh, lightning filled air. You're actually breathing in all of these electrons that are still lingering in the air from that lightning storm. There's been just a lot of buzz and movement. That's free stuff. It has sort of descended into that zone, but pretty quickly plants and rocks and trees and stuff, they they absorb that and it gets dispersed. But you can smell it, you can feel it. You can smell electricity when
Mm-hmm.
something is going on or shorting out or something in the room. You can smell that electric smell. Yeah, so electrons are they're just everywhere all the time. In nature, when you go to the beach or to a waterfall, anywhere where there's a junction of things rhythmically happening, and especially when there's stone involved and things are rhythmically vibrating or hitting stone like a waterfall or a beach or a cliff or something like that, there's a tremendous amount of electrons that are stimulated to release there. That's why I think why people really like to go to those places. You feel great.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Um, and it happens also with sunlight hitting stone as well. There's another effect where there's a release of electrons. So it's happening all the time in nature. It's a matter of coordinating it and channeling it and funneling it and then coordinating it again. That's what these pyramids look like they were doing.
So another level of conscious intelligence
Hmm.
to form that substance,
Yeah.
redirect it, guide it, channel it,
Yeah.
um, not own it, not, but just to,
Just, yeah.
you know,
Just generate some electricity or some power, some
mm,
energy
mm,
that can be used for different purposes by a civilization. I'm thinking just like with radio,
mm-hmm,
you can send radio signals and then receive them in that little crystal radio that you have.
mm-hmm,
It works both ways. So it might also be that these pyramids were receiving energy from the ionosphere, which is charged up by solar winds coming from the sun. It charges up this shell around the planet, and then perhaps there's a way that these pyramids, because of their charge from these resonators below, could attract electricity down from the ionosphere and channel it into the earth as well.
mm-hmm.
So maybe they were stabilizing the planet somehow,
Mm.
doing some kind of stability work
Yeah,
electrically.
that's what it feels like to me, that they're like they had multiple purposes.
Yeah,
One of the main purposes was to be a stabilizer.
yeah,
Uh-huh.
yeah. And maybe the three, maybe there's a hot and a neutral and a ground pyramid, and like
Oh,
a
yeah.
a
Wow.
giant conductor from the sky to the earth, and they were working the electrics of the planet a long time ago to stabilize things.
Wow. I mean, I think I shared this with you a while back, but one of my visualizations into my meditations is to see myself as a stabilizer. So
Mm,
it's like this, I call it like a long little pole that code drives right through me, right to the core of the center of the earth, and
hmm.
as far up as I can imagine, going out into the galaxy. So I've been doing that for the purpose of deepening my own and understanding and experience with sound.
Yeah.
And it just came to me that I wanted to start doing that. So,
Well, your experiments with sound, the stuff you're learning and practicing, um, that's vibration.
yeah.
That's so sound isn't necessarily just restricted to what we can hear.
Hmm.
I like to think of sound as just one, it's a little narrow window of things vibrations we can hear, but all the rest of the vibrations are microwaves and infrared and colors of the rainbow. And so all of those could be considered sound,
Hmm.
or we could just call it all vibration, all
Right.
frequency.
Right.
The little
And
narrow window that we can hear is called sound.
and because we're so connected to Earth and these particles that are moving through everything in
Hmm.
nature, that has a resonance to it as well.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, yeah, I know we're going to jump around a lot because there's so much. I'm so
I know.
fascinated with this. Well,
I
so
know.
let's go
Then
back.
we have to talk about the hum and the,
Well, let's go back to
um,
the pyramid again with with what's the new information that's come out. So what do you think? I know you've said some, you project, you make some predictions, but let's go back in time and say, in what other ways do you think they use this energy? And why has it been
Hmm.
kept? What it's not been visible to us in humanity at in the way that we think it should have been. You know, it's been
I
we've been told a different story about the pyramids for a long time. So,
Yeah. Yeah, we've been told they were tombs for pharaohs, which come on. Come on, really.
yeah.
I think that's the whitewashed kind of fairy tale idea of what these pyramids were and why they were built. Um, there's never been a mummy or a pharaoh or anybody discovered in any of the pyramids. There's no hieroglyphics in the Great Pyramid or these other giant pyramids. So they were obviously built way before the Egyptian civilization and pharaohs and tombs and all of that were dreamed up. Um, the other thing is the where were we going with this?
Well, like well, you made some predictions about what we're going to learn from this new information. But
Mhm.
let's try to go back in time and say, well, so what was the purpose for them? I know we talked a little bit about there being
Yeah.
stabilizers. Um, anyway, yes, the earth was already moving. It was, there was a lot of disruptions in the land masses.
Yeah.
So other than it being a stabilizer, which is a super huge big thing,
Hmm.
um, and we've talked about other star systems that helped seed this and to help, be another level of intelligence that's going to help do the stabilizing.
Yeah.
What else do you think in the past that we 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 should be open to possibly revealing itself more that we haven't seen yet?
Well, if these things were and perhaps maybe one of the pyramids or two of them were used for stabilizing the earth in different ways, and maybe another one was used for power distribution. If they are, in fact, creating some kind of coordinated plasmic fields can bend time and space. And whenever you bend time and space, you produce a gravitation effect. And if you tune it just right, you can create. I'm whacking into my microphone here. If you tune it just right and coordinate it just right, you might be able to produce an anti-gravity effect, which could be how they built these darn things in the first place. So if you're bending time and space in this plasmic field system just right, you can just raise up these gigantic stones and move them where you need to and lower them down
With precision.
with precision. Yeah. You can also shape them.
Mhm.
Um, so stone has, we think of stone as just like, there's this big old rock. Can't do much with it other than chisel it. But there may be properties of certain stones that we don't even know that when you dose it with a high degree of these electrons or this plasmic field, it takes on a different property or it is moldable and sculptable and you can shave it off really easily or you can scoop things out of it. And then you stop dosing it with this electric field or this plasmic field, and then it solidifies again.
Mm.
So you could sculpt these massive stones, you could move them. Just a very natural system,
Yeah.
also. You're just
Yeah.
collecting these electrons and blasting them at these stones.
Yeah. So I'm visualizing it's like we have these structures that keep all of our generators and these mass. So it's
Hmm.
like it reminds me of intelligence, builders. That it's like, well, what do we need, to stabilize this? Well, we probably need another
Yeah.
form. What's it going to look like? Well, I don't know. Let's try a triangle. That has some
Yeah.
properties, that
Yeah, that'll work. Yeah. Yeah. We may have been assisted from off-world by other intelligences that said, "Hey, you guys, have you tried a pyramid? They seem to work pretty well. Or
Yeah.
have we're going to help you set this up." Yeah, and the Earth was just pretty pretty wacko for a while. The
Mhm.
tectonic plates, and that was pretty moldable and very movable for
Mhm.
quite a while. And then it slowed down, things slowed down and got a little more crusty and a little more stabilized. But for a while it was touch and go. And maybe there was a civilization far before. And we've talked about the cycles of civilizations
Right.
that they tend to end in catastrophe, like worldwide catastrophe, either a meteor shower or an asteroid or earthquakes and volcanoes or a planet hits or something. And there are these cycles of humanity, or civilizations. I don't know if you even want to call it humanity, but consciousness present on this planet goes through these long cycles, and then there's a major shift and destruction of the planet, a reorganizing of the planet, and then consciousness settles in again, and we see another civilization rise, and then it destroyed again. Some people survive, and then it's renewed again. So I think these systems, like the pyramid system, are probably a holdover from a previous round, a previous cycle of civilization, of humanity, of consciousness. And they just happen to have survived into this round, which is why we just don't know what to do with them. We don't know
Mhm.
how to make them work, how to make them go. We're just fascinated with them, and little by little, we'll start getting an idea of how they worked in the first place.
So the thread from pre pyramids to where we're at today, but the thread that I'm hearing is, when I say the word hearing, I didn't mean that really, but I guess I did,
Mm-hmm.
is this vibration that has been, it's like this pulse that is steady, 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 steady.
Mm-hmm.
And there's this pulse that's alive, that has um, worked with, has made itself available to create, to create, to stabilize, to form, to shift our consciousness as well as our timeline. So I guess I
Yeah.
just keep seeing this undercurrent of a pulse that's also has other words, vibration, energy, frequency. There's so many other descriptive that can be very specific in terms of what that pulse then did.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but that's the thread that I'm hearing.
Yeah, I think our species is so tied to technology, whether it's ancient technology or modern technology, that we're intimately entwined with our technology, and our technology, whatever it is, tends to further our development of consciousness. And then as our consciousness develops, we develop further technology. And so there's this feedback with our technology that we have
Mhm.
that serves our expansion of awareness and expansion of consciousness. And it looks like that goes in cycles. And we've got remnants around the planet in different pockets, archaeological remnants that we kind of don't know what to do with. And it's hard to attribute them to early hunter gatherers. But as soon as you say, maybe there was another civilization before the rise of the current um, Holocene, the current civilization as we know it, man, that would explain everything. It would completely explain everything. And what's wrong with that? What's wrong with
Right.
maybe there was another highly advanced civilization and it crashed and the planet went through a traumatic event, and then some people started rebuilding. I don't think there's anything wrong with that narrative. And it does explain pretty much everything that we've got that we're discovering and rediscovering and digging up.
And that the again back to the word I'm using, the thread, the carryover has always been this technology, that technology, I'm going to call it this pulsing, this pulse
Hmm.
technology.
Yeah, pulse technology. There you go.
Maybe that's, there you go. That's a good word. This pulse technology
Yeah.
that throughout those different stages of our time here on this planet, it's carried through. It's and we're revisiting that pulse technology
Hmm.
now, especially since this information through that scan, that SAR scan, is telling us, well, there is something else underneath these pyramids that we maybe
Yeah.
we should look at.
Yeah. We're teasing our way back to some technology that and it was us, you know.
Yeah.
And if you bring in the idea of past lives and reincarnation, it was us that was doing this stuff on the planet.
Mhm.
We've just forgotten. It's this distant memory in our DNA somewhere of how to work with nature and these natural systems and construct this stuff on a global scale.
I like this word of pulse technology
Yeah.
because
Yeah,
it.
that actually can work because it sums up sound and
Mhm.
electrics and radio wave frequencies
Mhm.
and waves from the sun, electromagnetic, you know,
Mhm.
the magnetosphere and the ionosphere. Yeah, it can take in pretty much everything. And then also man-made stuff
Yeah,
that we pulse. Pretty much everything we do is pulsation, pulsation based.
I'm looking at something that you said in one of our conversations around sound and vibration and frequency. Um, Resonant frequencies in relation to pulse technology,
Hmm.
because I think of the word resonant as also being familiar, and it also has a, it like invites itself into your space, and you, like, you receive it into your space.
Hmm.
It's just resonating with you. So, but it's like this. It just happens fluidly. So,
Hmm. Okay.
um,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah,
I see what you mean.
you see how I'm going with that?
Yeah, like there's a metaphoric principle of resonance and then there's a physics principle of
Mhm.
resonance and it's actually they actually agree with each other. Where something is reinforced in you, you'd say, "Yeah, that resonates with me. That vibes with me." And then
So,
in physics, it's the same thing. If you vibrate a thing, um, and the sheer shape of it matches the wavelengths that are introduced into it, you'll get that resonant effect. It's like going into a bathroom and you sing a particular note and it goes wah and it's reinforced and it gets really loud and you start singing your favorite song because it just sounds so cool in that resonant chamber.
yeah. So
Um,
there's timing around that too.
yeah, there's timing, there's matching, there's geometry of the
Mhm.
size of the thing, and then there's the pitch, the frequency that you're introducing in there, and it just matches the geometry just perfectly, and it reinforces the wave patterns, and they just get louder and louder and louder very naturally. They're amplified because of the geometry and because of the frequency.
So there's this coinciding of all of those together. It like there's a rhythm. There's a rhythm that has occurred for this dance to happen.
Hmm.
So I'm stay with me on this one. You also mentioned about Edgar Casey making some the question being asked to one of Casey's reports, intuitive reports, about when will this information about the pyramids be revealed?
Hmm.
Like, what are the circumstances?
As far as I remember, it went into some details about when the sun is rising in the east and the sun mm, uh, hits
I,
the middle of the two paws of the Sphinx. It's a very specific um, like timing, but it's also he also mentioned when the consciousness of humanity is in the right place, essentially.
and I
There,
know you're paraphrasing that, but
yeah.
I'm
I
kind
should
of
find that quote, but yeah.
that's it sounds like a really good one. And I know other from other sources have also made some kind of a projection or prediction, if we can
Hmm.
call it that, about the timing of information to be released.
Yeah.
Um, but I'm asking though about get your words out, Capucine. It's about there's a resonance, like there's a timing
Hmm.
of this information being revealed now of what's underneath the pyramids.
Yeah. Yeah. It's
And
very interesting that it's happening now. Yeah.
but yeah, right. So there's a resonance of is the timing now for humanity to um, be able to understand this in a different way now? Like, could we have understood the release of this information even 50 years ago?
Hmm. That's a good question. Yeah, part of it is our technology is advanced to where we can even pull this off. We can even do this angular echo location kind of technology.
Right. So,
But
so
but understanding it, yeah, I would say so too. Like we're
like
just now ready to understand
we're ready to
the
understand it.
significance
Mhm.
of a different timeline of humanity.
Right. Because I have a pretty good intuitive sense about this. But as you well know me, I appreciate your ability to articulate it from a very scientific perspective. Some of that I probably could not understand or experience because I don't have the same experience you do, but I also can relate to what you're saying because I've used different forms of technology in my life,
Hmm. Yeah.
or or
And
I've
it should be resonant like that. It should be comparable to technology that everyone's experienced.
right
It's just on a huge macro scale.
right, because
That's
I think more people now are able to hear what's occurring because they have a lot more experience because of the natural evolution of how technology has come into our life. And I'm
yeah.
saying technology, the phones, the computers, everything.
Yeah, everybody's got phones and everybody's got cell towers around them and everybody knows about Wi-Fi and Bluetooth and it's waves, 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 pulsations. Yeah.
Like when my dad, excuse me, who's going to be 87 in May, he asked me to buy him a radio. And
Mm.
again, technology challenged a lot, but he asked me to buy him a radio so that he can listen to our podcast.
Yeah.
And so in his mind, he's only thinking about, well, I'll tune into it like a radio,
Yeah, I'll turn that little dial.
right? So, but he
Yeah.
doesn't have the wherewithal. I shouldn't, he doesn't, he just doesn't have the experience with technology
Yeah.
to even fathom what the difference is between a podcast and being in a radio. He doesn't understand, he doesn't have
Yeah.
experience with that.
Yeah.
So, but he has a desire to listen to and to understand what it is Paul and Capucine are talking about on this crazy thing called a
Yeah.
podcast,
Vibrations, whatever.
right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
Pulsation.
right, and so that's what I'm saying. Just not everyone has the even a little bit of experience to comprehend the
Yeah.
mass, the basics of it, but we all have a little bit of it when it's presented to us.
Yeah, and maybe there's a tipping point where there's just enough percentage of humanity that has enough background and wherewithal to understand this. That, yeah, okay, now we can. I think of that with pushing back the timeline of humanity. It seems like just in the last 10 or 15 years, there have been several things that push this timeline of humanity back, 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 back. No, way back. No,
Mm.
further. The footprints that they found, and they've dated these to, I can't remember, 100,000 years ago. The White Sands footprints and the Göbekli Tepe, and then the other tepes that they discovered, and now this thing under the pyramid. It's just nudging this timeline, and it's messing with people's conception of who we are as a species, how long we've been here.
Mhm.
And this is pretty recent,
Yeah.
and it's going to shake things up, and it does shake things up for people who think that, we've just been around for 4,000 years. This is really going to mess things up for that.
Yeah. It will create, I think, a couple of things in people, depending on where you are. People will put their feet further into the ground,
Hmm.
in
Yeah.
a stubborn way, not for a healing way, in a
Yeah.
stubborn way to say, yeah, I'm going to poke a hole in this. This is not it, which is fine. I'm not, I think that any way that someone looks at it will always open up and bring another perspective, which I think is a healthy thing.
Yeah.
But
And
the
as soon as you
intention,
introduce something new,
yeah,
it creates a tension, and
yeah.
it,
I think it's the intention behind putting a block up to information. If your
mm,
intention is, let's just keep sifting through this, see what we're finding, versus
yeah,
I'm afraid it's going to mess with something that we have been tied to, and I am not going to open myself up to this.
yeah.
I think
And unfortunately, I think there are
that
structures
will happen.
in our civilization that are going to have a really hard time with um, humanity's timeline being changed.
Yeah.
And they're not going to go down without a fight.
Well, I mean, and there's
Some of
some,
it is academics too. Some of
oh,
it
yeah,
is the archaeological uh, systems that have been erected, and people's papers have been published, and
that's
they've
right.
got their theories, and they got their research and their funding, and everything's pinned to a particular narrative, and suddenly that's crumbling.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to try to defend it. And
Yeah.
other systems might be political systems or religious systems are pinned to a particular timeline, and
Well,
we're going to have to
I just, yeah, I think about
negotiate.
even just the education system of curriculum
Hmm.
that's been
Yeah, yeah. All the books are going to have to be
like,
changed.
hey,
And
let's talk about social studies and history.
yeah,
And this is how it happened.
yeah.
How about science? No, this is
Well,
how we have to
yeah,
think
and
about it.
and who's native to where? Like,
That's
well,
right.
actually, there was a people before you,
Mm-hmm.
and we've taken great care to say you are native here, and you are native here, and you are native here, but actually, you're not. You're from somewhere else,
Mm-hmm.
and you migrated, and so yeah, who's from where anymore? That's going to mess up things as well.
Yeah, it will. And I'm hoping that, if whatever side you're going to go on, you open yourself to being shown another perspective and another lens that could have a high probability of being the right one,
Yeah,
or have some truth to it. Maybe that's a better way of saying it. It rings of some truisms
yeah.
that as opposed to it being right or wrong, it has some truisms to it, that and the
Hopefully,
foundation
we
of
settle
that.
down into that. Yeah,
Yeah,
into
foundations
just
can.
just what is the truth? That's what I want to find out. That's what drives me to do more research in
Mhm.
pyramids or pulsation technology or any of this is just okay, what else? What else is there? What and now what's underneath that? And what's behind that? And where did that start from? And you just keep on digging, and it's turtles all the way down. It's
Yeah.
Yeah. We had originally thought we were going to talk about standing waves and scalar waves and resonant
Right.
frequencies and octaves and all of this, but I think the ramifications of pulsation technology being discovered 100,000 years ago in a highly sophisticated way, I think the ramifications are they're big. It's
Yeah.
shaking things up all over the place, and it will continue to shake up. I just hope it doesn't get torn down. These
Well, if
discoveries get blasted and torn down and labeled as kookery and
well, I think it will, and then I think it won't. I think both will happen,
mm,
and I think that's okay.
yeah.
I
I'm
because
glad it
I
was a team of scientists that really did their research well
hmm
and produced some well thought out, well written stuff. It's not just somebody saying, somebody on some podcast that's like, "Hey, vibrations."
no, right. Well,
Yeah.
because I do think that you've got
Oops.
people that are devoted to the wonder and the curiosity of what is really there.
Yeah.
They're devoted to it
Hmm.
and not trying to fit a narrative of what they
Yeah.
think it should be.
And they're also devoted to precisely describing it,
Hmm. Right.
precisely describing it in ways that appeal to the public as well as scientific researchers.
Mhm.
So they
Yeah.
they keep it within the boundaries of scientific research.
Yeah, which I think is also healthy for us to have.
Hmm.
I appreciate that as well. Um, but I do think you and I don't know if we want to talk about this now, but um, all of those different things that you mentioned about, the scalars, the scalar waves and the standing waves and the wave collisions,
Hmm.
and then octaves, and then the obvious sounders, the tools that we use. Um, I mean, there's so many things that we can connect to the new findings from the SAR scan. But I always like to say, well, so how do how do the obvious sounders, how can that help a person right now resonate with this new pulsing technology that's moving, I think, at a faster rate now?
Well, let me think about that for a second, because when you say obvious sounders, I think you're talking about things that make sound, right?
Things that
Like
make sound.
gongs or bowls or your voice, things that produce sound.
Mhm.
Um, but really, there's a whole list of less obvious things that transmit vibrations, like well, we talked about rocks and crystals
Mhm.
and mountains and bodies of water, but you go even bigger, you've got planets and stars and the moon and our planet, and you've got giant things that emit vibrations and pulsations. So essentially everything
Yeah,
is vibrating.
the less obvious, but probably the most important
You know, like
ones.
they're so huge that you don't even think of them as
That's right.
sounders or
Mhm.
vibrators. So the things that we can do, like with gongs and music and voice and bowls and tuning forks, I think those are meant to do resonance with these giant macro things that are pulsating all the time. And when you produce sound with your voice or you produce something with a tuning fork, you're actually tuning in and resonating with these macro background humming things that are going on all the time. And you're tuning into those and you're resonating with those. So you can match their energy, you can match their frequency, their vibration, and then derive
Synch-
some,
Synchronize with it.
yeah, synchronize
Mhm.
with them. And you can borrow their energy. You can link up with them.
Mhm.
I think that's probably the most important thing that we can do individually is link up and sync up with these things, with
Yeah,
these natural pulsations that are going on all the time.
yeah, I call it a tune in, tune
Yeah.
in, tune
Tune in,
in.
turn on, and what was
Oh
Timothy
gosh,
Leary?
I know,
Timothy
I know.
Leary.
Woo!
Drop out. Yeah.
No, yeah. So yeah, it's like a tuning into and a tune. It's an internal,
Attunement.
external. Yeah, attunement, a tuning in, a tuning outward.
Yeah.
It's a yeah the tuning of what our bodies need to kind of shut off and shove off and flake off and
Hmm.
redistribute. I mean, whatever, whatever our body is doing, um, it's also going to be having an effect. It'll have some kind of an effect because of these frequencies that are moving already. And
Yeah.
some people are a lot more sensitive, and some people may not be even aware that this is something that's already having an impact on their body.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, I think that's a good point that some people are sensitive to particular frequencies. Some people aren't particularly sensitive in this zone, but they are in this band of frequencies. Like some people are really sensitive to light. Okay. Some people are really sensitive to sound. Okay. And some are sensitive to electromagnetic waves like radio waves or TV, or like they can sense and hear those things. I think ultimately it's a matter of what are you tuning into and why are you tuning in to particular frequencies, and then what are you going to do about it? Where are you going with it? You can tune into nature, natural rhythms. You can tune into political rhythms. You can tune into
mhm.
geologic rhythms. You can tune into astrological rhythms, and follow your astrology or your gene keys, or all of these are pulsations and rhythms and waves that you can tune into. But I think it comes down to why. What are you going to do with that?
Well, before we answer that question, talk a little bit more, Paul, about vibrations that are coordinated and vibrations that are not coordinated, that they're more neutral.
Oh, yeah.
Can you
Um,
talk about that in relation to what you just said?
well, I think that goes along with the that resonating or matching or syncing up with vibrations. If you've got, um, I think everybody's seen a waveform. Just a it looks like a sine wave. Just you do your hand. I'm doing my hand going
The
up
hills,
and
the
down.
hills and the valleys, the hills and the
Yeah, yeah. Trough
sound
and
wave.
valleys and troughs, peaks and valleys. Um, so that's a waveform, and waves are propagated, moved through some kind of medium, either through stone or through water or through air, or through a conductor like copper in your wires. Uh, these these waves are can be coordinated like in very rhythmic, regular patterns, and or they could be not very coordinated, just sort of random, jumbled up wave patterns. And I think that's really where the power comes from, is from these coordinated waves. Um, like coordinated waves. Oh, I'm trying to think of something, a good example. It really can be constructive or destructive when you've coordinated wave patterns. There was an example, God, I don't know when this was. This was back in the 80s, I think. There was a march or something on a bridge, and there were a bunch of people marching in step on a bridge, and it started to destroy the bridge just because of that rhythmic bomb,
Mm.
bomb, 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 bomb.
Mhm.
It set up a resonant frequency destructive pattern, and it was about to demolish the bridge, and they were ordered to like break step and randomize this
Oh,
rhythm,
wow.
and it saved the bridge. And engineers know about this, but the average person just thought, it's a bridge, can't, we're just going to march across it. But that
Mhm.
rhythmic boom, 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 boom built up. It trapped the energy in the structure, and it just couldn't take all of that energy being
Wow.
reinforced
Wow.
in it. So they had to break step. So resonance, it can shatter things, it can build things just as well. So that's the power
Mhm.
of coordinated vibrations or uncoordinated vibrations.
And you just answered a question for me just then, and that's why bridges and cars going over bridges. There's constant movement of those cars over the bridges
Yeah,
now.
and it's got to stay random.
It's
I,
random. Yeah, it's nothing is. Anyway, you just answered a question. Don't want to
yeah.
take us off
Or
that
we've
one.
seen like videos of there was a dance floor. There was a bunch of people dancing
Uh-huh.
all in unison, and they
Yes.
collapsed the platform or the
Yes,
yeah,
I've seen that one.
yeah. Everybody's seen that kind of thing.
Hmm.
So yeah, coordinated waves. They they can build things. You can get a crowd all doing the same thing at once.
Mm.
There was a singing revolution in Estonia years ago that they the tanks were rolling in from Russia. This is a great story, and there's a documentary about this. The tanks were rolling in from Russia, and these people went out and they held hands in front of the tanks and they just sang. And they sang songs together in unison. And the soldiers stopped the tanks, and they were so moved by this group of people, like hundreds, thousands of people singing in unison, that they could not carry out these orders. They couldn't keep going. I don't know all of the details of that story, but it
Mm.
was called the singing revolution. Just by singing together, they were able
Wow.
to halt this this progression.
Yeah. Can't you just see that wave? It's like you can see it.
Yeah,
It's like you can see that wave of that unison. You can,
because
I can see it. I can see it having an effect with someone else, but it's almost like a bubble, but it's not a bubble. It's just this field that just keeps moving in and out.
yeah,
Wow. Well,
a lot of
coordinate.
human created stuff like a city. We went to New York City a couple of years ago, and you land there and you start walking around, and it looks like this just a jumble of, and it sounds like a jumble of everything all at once, all the time, all night long, random stuff. So cities, I would say, are they're collections of very coordinated systems that because you got all these systems all operating on different frequencies and pulsations, it ends up randomizing and collectively being a random field. But boy, if you ever coordinated everything, you
Hmm.
either have great power or great destruction.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Boy,
Hmm.
we sure have a lot of power, don't we, within us? Like
Yeah.
there's natural, going back to that natural, oh, the just these electrons that are released, right?
Hmm.
I mean, that's that visual of just that's what's releasing,
Yeah. Gathering and collecting
gathering,
these
collecting, and then
pulsations. Yeah.
yeah,
All the way back to the pyramid shafts underneath.
yes,
I don't
right.
know what we're going to call those shafts or
Hmm.
pillars or collectors. I don't know. I think
Right,
it'll depend on what we find that they do. We may not be able to tell what they did because we don't even know why they're there.
right.
We don't even know how to test them.
Yeah.
But I got my predictions. That's for sure.
All right, Paul. Um, shall we hum out? Shall we do a hum out?
Let's ohm
Let's hum
ohm
it
our
out.
way in.
Oh no, that was
Yeah.
another example of when you have, just standing practices of everyday repetitive
Oh yeah, yeah.
chanting.
That's a
Chanting.
rhythm too. That's a
That's it's
pulsation and a
yeah.
rhythm that reinforces something.
Hmm.
Yeah, habits are a pulsation as well.
Hmm.
So
Yeah.
anything you do every day, like we have some gongs upstairs, we got a singing bowl and or a little ting sha, ding, the little
Hmm.
cymbals. It's something that you do every day. It builds. It's the energy doesn't just go out and disperse. There's a rhythm that builds something in you. It can build a tipping point in consciousness inside of you, I think.
Intention is really going to support that.
Yeah.
The more and awareness. We've talked about awareness a lot. The more aware you are, aware of your thoughts, your intentions
Repeated thoughts, repeated
will make a
intentions.
difference between those that are done without any thought behind them.
Yeah. Yeah.
That has a
Random thoughts tend to not have that much power, but repeated
Mhm.
thoughts have greater power.
Repeated that also have awareness, even has yet another signature on top of it.
Right. Yeah.
Huh. Okay. Hum, hum, hum.
Da da
Hum,
da
hum, hum,
da.
hum.
Da da da
Lum, lum, lum,
da.
lum. Lum, 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 lum.
Lum.
Lum,
Yes.
lum, 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 lum,
Everyone's
lum.
got their favorite chant.
That's
And
right.
mm.
Paul,
All
we
right.
talked about sound. Later, alligator.
All right.